Hi everyone, welcome to another Let's Create video at the City of Tampa's Visual Arts Studios. Today we're going to make a mini Halloween village. The supplies you're going to need are cereal box cardboard, a ruler, scissors and an X-Acto blade, hot glue and Elmer's glue, tissue paper, white paper, acrylic paint, paint brushes, and fake tea lights. The first thing I'm going to do is measure out some pieces for the walls of my house. So I measured out 2 pieces that are 5 inches by 3 inches. I'm going to draw on my doors and my windows. I'm going to cut those out first. For the door, I just cut from the bottom and over the top so that the door swings open. Now if you don't want to use an X-Acto blade, you can cut from the top to cut the windows open and then just kind of glue that slit back together. And now I drew this on the back, but I'm not really going to worry about the back of my house because that's going to be kind of up against a wall or something wherever I put my Halloween village. So if you are going to use an X-Acto blade, make sure that you have adult supervision or have an adult help you with this part when you need to cut something with the blade. But for that part, you will just cut where you drew on the lines. If you want shutters, you'll leave 2 of the sides uncut, or you can score them so that they'll swing open. I like to add little details, so I'm adding some really thin strips onto my doors around it to be like a door frame. Okay, now I'm going to glue the side walls on. So those pieces are 3 inches by, I don't know, probably 2.5 or something, depending on how wide you want your house to be. Be careful when you're using the hot glue and having to hold it together like that, because the hot glue is hot, duh. So I'm just holding it together until the glue dries and cools off so that then I can pick it up. All right, now I'm going to add a flat roof onto my house because I'm going to add a second story to it. And sometimes I add a little bit of extra glue to the corners just to make it a little bit more sturdy. Some of these pieces, like the roof, sometimes you have to do a little bit of finagling and snipping and trimming once you get the pieces cut out, and they don't really fit sometimes, so that's okay. If you've got lots of cereal boxes and snack boxes, you can just work it out as you go. Here I kind of measured that part of the roof, the triangular piece that's going to block off on the top of my house under the roof. So I cut out 2 pieces. It'll be for the front and the back, and I'll glue those on. Now I'm kind of figuring out whether I want to use these pieces for the roof or for the second story. All right, now I figured out the size and the position, so if I wanted it on the middle of my house or if I wanted it off to the side. And so I'm going to hot glue the second story on. If you don't have hot glue, you can absolutely use Elmer's glue or wood glue to make these. The only thing that I would say is to have tape available too. So the hot glue is good because it dries quickly. and sticks things together really fast. So if you don't have that, if you're using Elmer's only, you can tape the sides of the pieces while the glue dries and then take them off later. So use masking tape so that it peels off nicely. So I'm making a little ghost there for the window, and I have this tissue paper that I'm going to glue in to block, so you can't see the inside of my boxes that I used. And when I light them up, it'll look really cool because the window will be yellow. So I put my little ghost in the window, and now I'm going to work on the roof. So for the roof, you just need the two pieces, and you'll glue them together and then hold them while it dries at an angle like that. All right, now I have a roof on the top story, and I'm just figuring out and finagling that little triangle. I probably should have done that first, but all right. And then I snipped off some of that roof, the excess roof on the edge. Sometimes, like I'm doing with this, I just held a strip of the cardboard up to my roof and just kind of drew the angle. So that makes it a little bit easier sometimes to cut those pieces so they fit right. So this is a way that you can close off that spot there between the top of your house and the roof. So I made a couple of them already, and now I'm going to make a third one. Again, I'm measuring out my pieces. I just measured one, and then I used the first one to trace onto my cardboard to make the second piece. And now I'm going to cut out two pieces for the walls, for the side walls. Some other things you can use are toilet paper rolls or paper towel rolls. All right, so now this one has a curved door, so I cut almost over to the side there, and I didn't cut all the way. So now I'm going to use the X-Acto blade, and I'm going to score the back of it, not cut all the way through, just kind of halfway through, and that way the door will swing open. So for these windows, I drew a circle window, and then I drew some lines in between, and that way it looks like I have like a window frame. So I'm using the X-Acto blade again to cut that out very carefully. Now this is something that will help you too when you put the walls onto your house, and I discovered this kind of halfway through actually to the third one that I was on, that this would help the structure of the house and make it easier to glue together. So I just, about 1/8 of an inch, but it doesn't have to be measured. You just want to make sure that both sides you score the same amount, the same thickness or width. So I scored those pieces on the ends so I could fold them, and then it makes it so much easier to glue when I have that little flap there. So now I'm going to glue the back of the house on. And it looks like the top of my house and the top pieces, the front and back, are a little bit longer, so I'm just going to trim those off, easy peasy. And I'm looking to see if I want to use the round cardboard rolls to add on to my house. I decided against it, but you might find a way to make it look really cool. I just didn't really feel like I wanted to do that. So now I'm going to cut this piece out for the top because I'm going to add a second story to this one too. Just glue that on there. And I'm deciding whether I want there to be a second story or whether I want to have an addition to the house on the side. And I'm just placing those pieces there to see if I like the way it looks, and then I decide. So I think I decided for this one that I just wanted to have a an addition on the side of the house. So I made my little shutters for my windows, and now I'll glue those on. And because I have the big part of the house already built, I only needed 3 pieces for this one. So I'll glue those onto the big part of the house. And I cut an opening as well from the big part of the house because I'm gonna put tea light, fake tea lights, the battery ones on the inside, and I wanted the light to come through to that little addition to the house. So I just cut a little opening there. Right, so now I have that little side addition to my house. And I'll add a top to that one too. I'm gonna make the roof on this one a little bit different. I'm gonna make the corner of it be on the sides. And I measured that piece, and then I'll use that one to cut out a second piece so that it matches. And then, so that's how I'm gonna have that roof on there. So I'm going to hold these at a right angle and glue them. I also made a little flap on one of the pieces of the roof so that it was easier to glue together. And I'll add my little roof piece for the side addition to the house. And I'm using that roof to draw the triangular piece that will be glued in to hide the sides. And that made it a lot easier than what I was doing before. So, and again, I made a little flap on the ends so that it was easier to glue down. Just making sure it fits okay, snipping a little bit if I have to. Now I'll glue the roof down. And there's my third house, and I'm just going to add some strips there to cover up that hole. So now I'm going to make some roof tiles. And I just cut a strip. You can make them thick or thin, depends on what you want. And then I just made little snips along the strip to make the roof tiles. This house is going to get a chimney. So when you add a chimney to it, you'll need to cut your chimney piece at an angle to fit on top of the roof. And that just, I cut a triangle out of the bottom, and then I just kept snipping it until it fit right. All right, now I'm gonna paint them. I'm gonna paint them all black, and you see the tissue paper in there? That house has orange tissue paper. If it's possible, it might be a little bit easier to add the tissue paper at the end after you paint it. That way you don't get paint all over your tissue paper. But if you do add the tissue paper first, just be careful as you're painting not to get paint all over your windows. This house I ended up adding stairs and a porch, and that's just layers of thicker cardboard underneath. And then if you want to add little details to it, this I'm making a hot glue spider web. So if you put hot glue down onto a metal surface or like this table, after it's dry, after it cools off and it's dry, you can peel it up. You have to be really careful when you peel it up so that you don't tear the piece. But I'll let that dry for a little bit. I'll paint while I let it dry. Now you don't have to use all black paint for your houses. You can use other Halloween colors. You can use purple and green and brown if you want to paint them a little bit differently. So there we go. There are our houses. And you don't have to make these Halloween houses if you don't want to. You can make it a Christmas village and just paint it differently and add different details. But I love Halloween, it's my favorite, so. That silly ghost. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you're all staying safe and staying inspired.